back talking. And I think we need to talk today about variance. Variance is probably the biggest cause of frustration among Magic players. You ever go to a tournament and you start off 5-0 and then you lose 3 rounds in a row and you end up 5-3 when you could have easily top 8'd, knocked out of top 16 or even top 32 sometimes. You ever go to a commander night and you're winning the entire game and then some bad variance happens and then you're done. I think that it's really important to understand that Magic is kind of a numbers game. The more that we play, the more variance we're going to experience, good and bad. We need to kind of take the time to understand variance is such an important part of our game. The variance is what makes it different from chess. And there's a lot of understandable frustration when you are playing the deck that you love and you're doing your best, and at the end of the day nothing changes, right? You are playing everything correctly, you still end up losing. What do we do in those moments? Well, I'll tell you what I do. I like to remind myself that we need to play probably 100 games badly in order to play one game well. And that's what I try to focus on. I have this mentality of I'm going to lose 99 games so that I can win one. Learn what you can from those losses. Experience the variance. The way I think about it is you have to get the bad numbers out of the way early so then you can get to the good ones later. It's really important to push through those hard times when you're struggling and the deck feels like it's kicking you because you're experiencing the toughest variance right then. In the future, the deck could give you the nuts and you could just win. But you wouldn't get there if you didn't give yourself the time and the reps. Take the bad beats, pick up your cards, go home, come back, do it again. Give yourself another chance to get some good variance. A lot of people, when they experience that wall, that frustration, that really bad beat story, where you don't draw your second land in 6 draws, or you draw nothing but lands for 6 draws, both of those things are very understandable and frustrating. But if you take that variance as a reason to quit playing Magic and to walk away from the game, you're never going to experience the good variance that was probably in the next match. So I think that for me, it's really comforting to know every time you have a bad beat story, every time you have variance, that means that in the future you're going to have some good variance. You're going to have a good beat story. You're going to draw the card that you need right when you need it. And you have to push through the bad times to get to the good. And this applies to life too, but we're talking about Magic right now, variance and Magic philosophy. You can't just throw up your hands in the air when you start to get, a little bit dunked on by the Magic gods. When they're not giving you lands, or they're just giving you nothing but lands, we kind of just look up and we go, hey, Magic gods, why you do this to us? I like to tell people it's kind of like the Greeks back in the day when they wouldn't get any rain for a long time. They didn't stop planting, right? They stuck with it. And they focused and they believed that in the future things would change. And that's how we have to be as Magic players sometimes. Sometimes you gotta be superficial or superstitious, and you gotta believe that the bad variance is followed by some good variance. And if you've had a horrible losing streak where you draw nothing but bad cards over and over and over again, well, guess what? In the future, you might have a game where you draw nothing but good cards, or your opponent could experience that bad variance. And so it's really important not to just throw our hands up in the air and get frustrated, because it's a really easy solution, when in reality, the hard part is that we need to understand this is part of the game. The variance does suck. It's not fun. But 100 losses will lead to one good game. And a lot of people aren't willing to put in the reps in order to take those losses early in their career. But think about it. All of us have done that. All of us in the beginning of our Magic career have played badly. Played good cards maybe, but very badly. And we've learned. And you have to learn from your mistakes. You have to learn from your losses. And those losses are what make us stronger as Magic players. I think that mindset when you go into a match is really important, right? Don't focus on, okay, what is my game plan and how am I going to win? Focus on, okay, are these 7 cards going to give me a game plan? And is that game plan going to give me some agency, some interaction, some control over what's happening in this game? And if not, probably take a mulligan. Don't keep a bad hand, draw bad cards, and then say, oh my god, the variance. I think that variance is part of the game. I think that sometimes the Magic gods do dunk on you. But I think that a lot of it also can be brought back to, bad mulliganing decisions, maybe bad deck building decisions on top of that. there's so many different things that can go wrong, and I think that it's really important to try to focus on the good and what you have control over, because at the end of the day, Magic's a decision tree, right? You focus on the lines that you have, and your opponent focuses on the lines they have, and you have certain interaction points that you can't control. You have to do your best to just try to pilot your cards, and if your opponent beats you because they drew better, or if you just drew really badly, just tell yourself, it's okay, I'm going to lose this match, I'm going to come back stronger next time with the variance on my side. And you kind of just got to give yourself that reassurance that things will change. You won't always lose badly the way that you did in that one game. However, if you quit when the variance is bad, you will forever remember that. And you'll remember the sting, and you'll feel like you need to give up because, oh my god, Magic hates me. I never draw anything good. This game sucks. When maybe you're in those beginning stages of variance where you have to take the bad beat stories. Your decks have to crap on you. You have to lose every single match you play. I remember going 0-4 at F&M for literally 4 years. And that's partly because, I'm not the greatest Magic player, but that's also because I was playing bad decks badly and I had bad variance. But all of those losses taught me things. And I think that that's something that's very important. If you look at, like, football, right? They go back and they watch the feed, and they watch the games back and try to understand the plays better. Where I threw an interception, where else could I have thrown it? What could I have done to change the way that this game ended? What decision trees did I take to put myself in a position where I didn't want to be there? And what could I have done to change that outcome into something that's more, enjoyable for me? And I think that Magic is kind of the same. You have to be willing to take feedback and failure as an input, as a data point, and don't let it emotionally overwhelm you, because it's really really important not to get overwhelmed in Magic, because it's an analytical game. We have to see what we're doing. We have to process it and understand it. And if we're not willing to take the time to process it and understand it, then we're going to lose. We're going to lose to ourselves before we lose to our opponents. And so, I just came back from the Energy Weekend. It was a great time. I went 4-4 in the Modern portion on Saturday and 4-3 in the Legacy portion on Sunday. And I always have a great time because I'm expecting to go 0-8. I'm expecting to go 0-7. Not win a single match, have lots to think about, lots of deck building decisions, lots of inputs, right? Lots of things that I learned. When I get wins, there's not so much to learn from. It's like, okay, good, that worked, cool, let's do it again. Let's run it back. But when you lose, you really have to think about deck building, decisions, sideboarding, all of these things that factor into a proper, like a back and forth game of Magic, excuse me, where a lot of people aren't willing to do that. A lot of people just don't want to put the time in to think. And I think that variance, at the end of the day, is the excuse that people use sometimes just to cover up the fact that they don't want to think about what they did or how to process and improve for the future. But also sometimes variance is just that. It's just the variance. And I think that we can't take it as like a be-all, end-all. We can't allow it to frustrate us because it's part of the game. And I think that, the philosophy, if I could pass one thing on to you as a Magic player, as maybe a person too, is that, and I've heard many people say this, and it's so true, failure is the fuel for success. The more that you fail, the more likely you're willing to succeed. You're going to succeed in the future. If you're willing to fail, you're going to be more likely to succeed in the future. And it's really important to not let yourself give up at that hurdle, that first roadblock, that first bad variance, that bad beat story. And maybe you've had a really bad line of variance. Maybe you've had a really bad beat story. But guess what? Eventually that variance will end, and you'll get to have the opposite side of that. You'll have amazing variance. You'll draw everything you need whenever you need it. So I just wanted to talk about variance and Magic philosophy. Do you enjoy playing Magic? Do you have another opinion about variance? Do you think that the game's kind of stupid? I would love to know your responses in the comments. I really appreciate you being here. I'm homesick today, so I'm gonna try to do some more shorts later. But till then, I got some hot tea, and I'm gonna go back to bed. I just want to get this out there because variance affects us all. Not just Magic players, but everybody in life. And I think that it's important for us to talk about it because, like, our mindset controls how we play and how we live and experience life. So I just want to talk about this. Thank you so much for watching.